Hi there, it's April the 2nd, and we're continuing our journey through Luke's Gospel. We're in chapter 9, starting at verse 51, and we're going through to chapter 10 and verse 12. So at the beginning of this reading, we see that Jesus has set his sights on Jerusalem, and it says that this is leading up to the time when he will be taken up. Again, going back to the thought of the conversation on the mountain where Jesus speaks to Moses and Elijah, they speak of his exodus, of his departure. And again, there's this emphasis on the Jesus going from earth into his Father's presence is the aim of this whole thing. When a Samaritan village that they're going through refuses to receive Jesus because he's going on to Jerusalem, which they didn't consider to be the true temple of God. The Samaritans believed that the temple of God was with them, but because they were going to Jerusalem, the Samaritans rejected him. The disciples, as Jews, wanted to get really angry with them and call down fire, but Jesus rebukes them, and he refuses to get into this kind of quarrel, because he knows actually that the Samaritans are going to be brought into the love of God down the line along with the Gentiles. So he will not go down that partisan line that his disciples try to pull him down. Others come to him and they say, Jesus, we want to follow you. We want to go where you go. In fact, we want to give ourselves to you. And Jesus warns them that it's going to be costly for them. They're not going to have a place to stay. Jesus goes from place to place. And then one comes and says, Jesus, I want to follow you, but let me first bury my father. Let me first see to my household. And Jesus says, anyone who follows me needs to be wholehearted. Anyone who follows me, puts their hand to the plough and then turns back, is not worthy to be my disciple. Jesus points out here how costly the road of discipleship is. And therefore, in following Jesus, there is a self-denial, a self-donation, a giving ourselves completely to Jesus. At the beginning of chapter 10, Jesus sends out a further 70 of his people, of his followers. Jesus has designated the 12 to be his emissaries, but now he sends out others. He's multiplying the task. And because he says that the harvest is plentiful, but the workers are few, and he asks his people to pray for the Lord to send out more workers into the harvest. There's always room for more harvesters in the field. And so he sends out, Jesus in fulfillment of this, having sent out 12, sends out 70. He's multiplying the work that they have ahead of them. And Jesus actually tells them how to do it. He says, go into the villages and the towns. Don't take a lot of stuff with you. Don't get encumbered with things to carry. And when you go there, stay with the people who will receive you, eat with them, and share the good news, heal the sick. He says, if anyone doesn't receive you, then just shake the dust off your shoes. He says, don't hang around in a place trying to impact them, trying to devise new ways of getting through to them. Jesus says, move on to the next place, because God will see that, and there will be, in the final analysis, a reckoning to be made for those who refuse his word. There's a real sense of urgency in what Jesus is doing here in sending out these 70, and that urgency is still there today. As we go out, we can live for Jesus in every place where we are, by seeking to present him, by seeking to pray for those who need prayer, by seeking to see his kingdom made real in the place where we are. Let's be faithful to Jesus as his followers, as his apprentices today, and let's carry his good news into the world around us. Have a very good April the 2nd.